The Philadelphia Union have made a move. A roster addition has happened. We also have news that there are some talented superstars looking to join the MLS. We've got a special guest joining us today, and Ben Wright of Broadway, Tennessee, and also an MLS writer that's going to be on the show. Lots to get into today. Welcome to PHOI Union Podcast. We've got JP Zapata, Renee Washington, Tyler Zulli, the usual trio. JP, we're low-key matching today, actually. Hey. I just realized that as I looked. I don't know why I didn't realize that looking at you, but I just realized it when I saw us in our monitor here. So it's
brown and black is a great color combo these days, ladies and gentlemen.
You know what? It's cold outside, and I feel like I find myself wearing more neutral colors when I'm cold. I want layers, I want warmth, and you just buckle down. It's definitely what happens.
Some neutral pieces because I like my color. So
yes,
I like it.
A little pop here and there is always good. So welcome in, guys. Nice to have you here joining us. So depending on whether you're watching live or watching back on our podcast platforms, let's dive right into it though, JP.
Let's get it.
On this Thirsty Thursday. Thirsty Thursdays are not the same as they used to be. That's for sure. So. I'm thirsty for some updates. The Union have acquired defender Jamir Berdecio. The defender is on loan through 2024 with a permanent transfer option. And with the news, he's going to be added to the active roster following the receipt of his international transfer certificate and his P1 visa. So some logistics that have to get taken care of. He stands at 5'8", 150. Not that tall, not that big in frame. Very, very young, actually. Very young. He's going to be turning just 22 this year. And born in Bolivia, he's got a lot of potential, a lot of development. That's kind of the biggest things I took away from this edition is he's a young player that's going to be a let's see what happens type of a piece. And he's going to be a piece that's going to, play with the top team, the senior team, also will get some minutes with the Union too. And the overall thoughts between Ernst Tanner's comments on him as a very young, talented player, as well as just what I know you've had a chance to see him. I just see potential. Again, 21 years old, coming from the Bolivian Primera Division. And with that club, Club Deportiva Oriente Petrolero, he played with them since 2021. He appeared in 37 matches, 29 starts. And, solid player. He's played with Bolivia's U23 national team for the first time he had the chance to play with their roster in his career. And gets obviously a great opportunity now, especially with the 2024 Olympics coming up. So what has been your thoughts on his play that you had a chance to see from the film that you watched on his performance?
The deep dive in the film. I was like baldy out there. No, I'm kidding, guys. No, so obviously like every other Union fan, I did my deep dive into YouTube, went down a rabbit hole for Jamir Berdecio. We're going to have to find out that pronunciation precisely here. But this is a kid who, like we talked about, has a lot of raw ability. He does also fit kind of a need that I discussed as well. If you're looking at the midfield, it does feel like Jesus Bueno slotted for that right shuttle midfielder, knock on wood here. Yes. Obviously, we're still in limbo with Ali Bedoya, but there's still a need for some more depth in that midfield. So Jamir, he probably brings that depth here. What I saw on tape from him, coming from Oriente Petrolero, is a kid who looks very tenacious. It reminded me a little bit of the style that El Brujo plays. Just an absolute monster in that midfield. If I like to say, he moves with a purpose out in that midfield. And so that's kind of the stuff that I did see here. Now, the big question is, what is he exactly in his position? Yeah. So I did find an interview before last year in the Bolivian League, and from my interpretation, it did sound like he does feel comfortable playing as a shuttler midfielder. Now, obviously, listen, everyone remember that in Latin America, we all have different dialects. We all say different words differently.
Correct.
So when I hear a volante, I think of a shuttle midfielder. So that's also kind of what we do need. So it would make sense for him to be slotted in that position. But yes, as the scouting report does say, he's got a lot of defensive midfield experience. He's got some right back experience as well. He's obviously a right-footed midfielder as well. But I think for him here, what's the interesting part about this deal is the loan. It's not like a 2-year deal with like with an option for a 3rd and 4th year. No. It's a 1-year loan through 2024 with an option to buy at the end of the season. So what that tells us is that for Don Jamir, he's got a whole year to show us what he has. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean he's got to go out there and be like a Brujo and steal starting minutes, but he needs to show what he has. He showed that he has the potential to be a player in this league. Take those right steps like Jesus Bueno did this past 2 years. So I'm intrigued by the move. Obviously, it's not what people want. A lot of people still want to see the Union make a big move for a big signing player.
Yeah.
And to that, listen, I would say this. For the group of people who want the Union to go out and spend big money on a known player, how many players do you know that are known players on the Columbus Crew? You guys can name me 5 players that are known players on the Columbus Crew. So it's not necessarily getting those known players, but getting the players that fit the system here. And obviously, like we talked about before, even when we talked on Tuesday with Meg, we essentially are just depth away of being back where we were and competing with the team likes of the Columbus Crew. But no, this is a signing definitely here for the future. But this kid definitely has some potential here, Renee.
Yeah, for sure. I want to say welcome to you guys in the chat. I see Travman, Jose. Nice to have you guys here. Hit that thumbs up button. Join the conversation. Listen, as you're talking about the way that Jamir plays, I think for me, it comes down to potential versatility. This is a player that, as you mentioned from seeing him play, has a lot of upswing. And I know Ernst Tanner was talking about that as well, of just looking forward to seeing how he develops. And to me, a lot of the moves the Union have been making, whether it's adding in this player or adding in another, is the fact that it's all young, it's all consistent.
Yeah.
It's all young players, but we don't really know how they're going to shake out. And that's why I can't get overly excited, to be honest. I know different people have talked about Jamir as a big upswing. I know Jose's talked about it. I know I saw Jimmy on Twitter, different people on Twitter talking about it. Everybody's got the same thing. There's a lot of upswing and potential and low risk, high reward. Okay, but you know what? I like the sound of that. I also want more definitive reward. And so I do think that this is another player, much like every other move we've seen from the Union so far, that fits in that same category of, okay, it's a piece. It's a roster spot. It's a player that can play. Again, if we're talking about him getting minutes with Union 2, that means he's not a piece that's going to come right in immediately and make an impact. That's the assumption from my understanding of him playing with both teams. So, okay, that puts things into perspective. As mentioned, he's listed as a defender, but he's also going to be able to be someone that can play in the midfield, be able to add depth in that sense. And so, young, hungry, 21-year-old, welcome to the Union. I'm excited to see how he develops. I'm excited to see what the future holds for him, just like everybody else that the Union has so far picked up.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it comes back to, as we talked about, the fact that it's another wait and see addition.
Yeah.
I have been very big on, yes, I would love to still have that piece that comes in and is known and is a good fit. Can we have both? I know, Travman, you were asking about if he counts as an international, and to Jose's response, we had actually already mentioned it too when I was introducing him. So yes, he is from Bolivia, but no, he is not someone that he's going to be added. He still has to get his international transfer certificate and his P1 visa. Details still getting worked out there. So, those are the logistics of an addition such as this one, where you have to wonder if he's going to be someone that can come into this team. Once you get the paperwork signed, once you get everything figured out with his P1 visa, his transfer certificate, everything else, can he help? That's what it comes down to. Can he help now, or is this another 2, 3, 4 year piece that helps in the future? Will, nice to have you here as well.
What's up, Paul? Yeah, no, you raised the biggest concern here, and the concern is extremely valid, is depth.
Yeah.
Does he help the depth issue? Because like we saw last year, Renee, when we traded away Andres Pereira to NYCFC, we thought we were fine at that moment. But then we realized, okay, Ali's now down. You can't really trust Joaquin Torres. So now you're essentially relying on Leon Fox injured. Let me add that into the mix as well. So now your concern is that, okay, so if the main 4 who are strong are that's all you have, that you're screwed. You're screwed. So can you rely on Jamir to be that depth piece? And so I completely get that. The one thing I will say about Jamir, he comes from El Tauchi, the academy here for Oriente Petrolero. So just quick tidbit here for all my MLSers, my diehard, my long-term MLSers from '96. The same academy that also produced DC United legends Marco Echeverri and Jaime Moreno as well. So you got a little bit something to get excited for, because he comes from that same line as well. Now, the visa issue is, yes, that's always the concern. We're sick and tired of that.
Always.
Like the amount of players we had to deal with, like the last 5 signings, we've had to deal with the weight of the visa, because of just the fact of the matter is we're an MLS club. We're signing players like Amir, who's a 21-year-old Bolivian international here. So like, this is why we're going through these delays here. It's so unfortunate, but we're gonna have to wait to see. But yeah, it's an international piece that does mean that he takes up an international roster spot, but it'll pay off. He does show out. So a lot of potential, but I understand those frustrations for sure.
Yeah, and you want something that's a little bit more guaranteed. But you know where you can get something guaranteed, guys? That's over at Factor Meal Kits. They guarantee you fresh food right to your door, making the process of figuring out what's for lunch, what's for dinner, what's for breakfast that much easier. And there are enough things that we have to question within a 24-hour day of picking and choosing and figuring out. Don't have to worry about figuring out your meals when it comes to Factor Meal Kits. Now, Factor Meal Kits allows you to have those ready-to-eat meals delivered, but it's not just meals. It's everything from snacks to smoothies. They've got a lot of options for you. And they also have options in terms of the lifestyle that they can help accommodate, keto, calories counting, vegan. If you want something veggie specific, they've got over 35 meals to choose from per week. They've got over 55 weekly add-ons. They've got a lot of nutritious, flavorful, delicious ways just to kickstart your meals. So over at Factor Meal Kits, you can take advantage of their options that they have. Snack options, juices. They help with, like I said, snacks. So it's so many things that you have there at Factor Meal Kits. And you can go to the website now. It's factormealkits.com/union50 and use code UNION50 to get 50% off. That's code UNION50 at factormealkits.com/union50 to get 50% off. A great way to get into whether it's a high protein diet or a keto diet or anything else you're wanting to do. They're fresh. They even have cold pressed juices, which I was impressed by. Fresh, and it makes it so much easier just because I know I'm always tired of wondering, what am I going to have for lunch today? What am I going to have for dinner? Factor Meal Kits.
We always got you covered, guys. So with that, let's get you guys covered as well with a great mortgage service. Our sponsor today, Mortgage CS. Mortgage CS, it stands for Mortgage Concierge Service. It's a white glove service. Mortgage CS is an independent mortgage broker based right here in Philadelphia. We are here to educate and empower our clients, and we are here to help our clients obtain ultra competitive rates. We compare rates between multiple lenders to find a deal that makes sense for you. Our top priority is your financial big picture, not our bottom line. We're here to provide exceptional customer service, 24/7 availability from our 2 owners, Alec and Ben. We help you win in a competitive market by calling the listing agents, reviewing offers, and highlighting your positive credentials and our stellar reputation. Tons of easy-to-use tools to make the mortgage process more approachable. When you hear the word mortgage, think of Mortgage CS, ladies and gentlemen. Think of Ben and Alec. Save Ben's telephone number. It's right here on the screen as well. If you guys are watching here live on YouTube, 267-391-7425 to your cell phone number right now. Text them as well. What does he think about Jamir Berdecio signing here for the Philadelphia Union? And you can also email Ben at ben@mortgagecs.com. So again, you can call, text Ben at any time of the day. We talk to him about anything, especially mortgage questions you may have there. You can also check us out at mortgagecs.com/PHLY to get started today. This advertising is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to a credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS ID 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com for more information.
All right. Well, as we talked about again, the Union with a big, maybe not so big, but with a move that was made. A move was made with adding defender Jamir Berdecio. Excited to see what it can bring. Excited, I know. We're looking forward to what's going to happen there. A lot of other things to look forward to and see what's going to happen. Everything from Brandon Craig to Mark McKenzie to even other MLS teams and what they've got going on. Starting with Brandon Craig, though, specifically. Now, there have been different reports about what's going to happen with his future. Actually, Jose, who's right in the chat, who shares a lot of information, whether it's in our chat or on his own Twitter page. Jose's always got the latest for you. Don't you worry about that. He'll make sure you get details. I saw Jose had tweeted this out talking about Brandon Craig and possibly, the future for him, possibly being with Everton. He was on trial with Everton FC. And I also know Jonathan Tannenwald also corroborated that. We saw the picture come out of Brandon Craig actually at the game. So there was a picture of him sitting at the game. It was the Everton-Aston Villa game. That also had people speculating. I know we have that shot. There it is.
Hey.
That was his agent that was tweeting that out of him at the game watching, which leads to even more wondering of what's happening with Brandon Craig. Is he going to Everton? Is that going to happen? He did have a chance when he was younger. I believe he played. It was the U15 Everton team that he had trained with at a point. He's had those options, where we've seen him play all over the place, honestly.
Yeah.
And so for Brandon Craig, Tannenwald was talking about it. Others have been talking about it as well. If he's going to Everton, can Everton financially make that happen with all they've got going on right now? Don't think so. But there is interest. There is interest. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I took away from all of this, whether it's with Everton or with somewhere else, I feel like I'd like to see Brandon Craig move on. It's just at this point, you've seen Damian Lowe, you've seen what he's been able to add to the back line. And for Brandon Craig, he's so young, still trying to get those opportunities with the senior men's national team, still trying to get meaningful minutes with a club. If it's not going to be here, it didn't work out in Austin, find a team where that can be home. I just can't imagine how that has to feel, where you feel almost like you're Goldilocks.
Yeah.
You're bouncing around from spot to spot. You're trying to figure out where you're going to play, and you don't know what is home. Where is my home team? Where, especially as a center back, where you want to be getting starts and playing 90 minutes and locked in on a roll. And that's not happening here. And I don't see that happening here in the future, especially now with Damian Lowe being that third option, where you can, whether it's a 3-back or a traditional 2 center backs in a 4-back system, he doesn't fit in. So I think, when I heard the news about Everton at first, I was like, oh, well, I've heard a lot of things about Everton lately. That would be cool if they could financially make it happen. I just want to see him go somewhere and be successful.
Right. And then as an honorary, I guess, Toffee representative here, is I do lightly root for the Toffees here. Yeah, it's been a hell of a season for Everton.
Gosh, yeah.
Jeez Louise. But I mean, look, what I want to give a little words of encouragement to everyone out there, but especially to Brandon Craig. Perseverance is everything. And Renee, you know that very well, especially as an athlete.
Oh, yeah.
What Brandon Craig went through this past year was extremely excruciating. From going through injuries, getting loaned out, not getting playing time in this place you got loaned out to. So it was a really rough year.
Yeah.
But perseverance is when you need it the most in those tough moments. And I'm going to bring it back to an ex-Union Academy player, Austin Trusty. Remember, he went through a rough patch. He had a rough year. He lost his starting job, gets sent over to Colorado, played really well. Now my man's over in Europe.
Right.
So you just got to stick it out, and you never know what happens. I don't know if this will happen with Everton, but it does feel like his future in Philly is very bleak when you just mentioned the 3 center backs that played heavy minutes last year.
Right.
And also remember, a South African player that we did sign throughout the season with the Under-22 initiative, Makahanya Alawethu. So he's also in the mix here for the future. So don't know where Craig's future lies, but it does feel like it may not be here. It does feel like he may be one of those players that may get a chance at one of those European clubs, maybe a lower level, and then work his way through there. So we hope nothing but the best for Brandon.
I know. Welcome in, Jillian. Nice to have you here as well. Listen, as you guys are talking about in the chat, and as we're talking about for Brandon specifically, it's time. It's definitely time. I think that I feel for him, and I just seeing game after game. It's kind of like he's always waiting for that opportunity. And everyone is always asking about what's going on with him. Where is he? You're so young. Yeah. So rather than trying to force this situation, there's always a spot out there that will appreciate you for who you are. And that's not just in sports, that's in life. There's always a spot that will appreciate you for who you are. Find that lane, find that team. And find that spot you can go thrive and be able to be a contributor and have fun playing. I can't imagine this is fun for him.
Yeah.
Bouncing around, trying to figure out where you are. You're now having to go visit different clubs, and he's at the game, watching the game. Well, when you're still, I don't even enjoy sometimes watching games when I'm retired.
Right.
When you're still actively playing, you don't want to be sitting watching games.
We'll be in there.
You want to be on the pitch. You want to be playing. So I think it's time for Brandon Craig to move on. I hope he finds that next home wherever that is, and can find a better fit for him. I know. Go ahead.
No, another point I was just gonna say too. Like, just think about like how this position has changed for us over the past couple of years. Like, it was like maybe like 6-7 years ago. You're thinking of the center back position. You're like, oh my god, why can't we get Andre any help? And over like the last 5-6 seasons, the competition between Mark, Austin, Jack, Jakob, it's incredible. This has truly become a center back city.
It has. And as you talk about Mark, actually, he's also looking possibly for home. So there have been some reports that have come out that Leeds is interested in our very own Mark McKenzie, former Mark McKenzie, that is. So Leeds is right now in the process of looking for a center back, especially if their current center back, Charlie Cresswell, does leaves Leeds. So Charlie Cresswell is unhappy, allegedly, at his lack of game time and just overall the situation that's going on in Leeds. So allegedly, he's looking to make a move which would free up a spot. Now, Leeds would be looking for another standout center back. Mark McKenzie is their guy. So there have been some reports that Mark McKenzie, is also possibly looking to make a move. So he made 23 appearances for his current team. I cannot say the name of the team, guys. And Genk.
I think it's Genk. Yeah.
I mean, it's. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not gonna act like I'm an expert on every club in the soccer world or every name for that matter. So
it's confusing because there's a Ghent and there's a Genk.
Yeah, I can be honest and say what I can and can't. So KRC Genk is where Mark McKenzie is currently playing, and now he had 23 appearances so far this season, 4 of which came in the Europa Conference League group stages. He also scored a goal in one of those games. He still is Mark McKenzie. He's still got talent, and much like we're talking about with Brandon Craig. If this report has any legitimacy and there's interest there on both sides, if Leeds is looking for a center back that can be a better fit and Mark's looking for a team that can be a better fit, again, like I said with Brandon, I think defenders I find myself the more okay with like moving on from. Goal scorers are different. Attackers in general are different because when you have a true goal scorer, you don't want to go see them score goals for anybody else. But center backs, in my opinion, tend to be a little bit more replaceable. I hate to say that. Defenders in general tend to be a little bit more replaceable because they're more, they're not contributing in the same way. Right. Even though they are huge pieces, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. I'm going to state the obvious for like every American, every Philadelphia Union fan here. We hate the thought of Mark McKenzie going to Leeds after the drama that was with Leeds last year with all the Americans. The fans were absolutely disgusting towards even like our favorite Brandon Aronson. So like, I'll be honest, when I saw
I don't think they're ready for another American player.
No, not at all. And so like when I saw this report, that was my first inclination. It's like, no, Mark, no, don't go, don't do it. But I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know what Leeds' state is now. Like, it's completely different than what it was last year. They had
I hope.
Yeah, they had a clear-cut plan last year, and it was all, led by the Americans. Jesse, Brandon, Tyler Adams. And so now it's getting back into the Prem. Mark might be a piece that they want back with that, but it's just hard as an American or as a Union fan to see a Union player connected to Leeds. I know it's England, but it's just hard to kind of envision that. But no, Mark had a really strong year with Genk. He's got some, I don't know what the status of the USMNT is. Obviously, there's a lot of competition there. But just on the club level, he deserves to play in a bigger league. I think it's time to make that move. Premier League does seem like something that would be a better fit for him. But I think I speak for everyone. Let's not get into Leeds, please.
I know Chapman's saying the same thing. Not Leeds.
Yeah, no.
Listen, it's hard because we've heard so much coming out of Leeds as you talk about the history there. And especially as an American player, it's really difficult to go play there. But the league overall would be a better fit for Mark. So it's like, at what expense? But you don't have to settle, Mark. Like you said, maybe the conversation with Leeds or the interest from Leeds will always open the door for other teams that might be a more, peaceful environment where he can enjoy playing and doesn't have to deal with feeling ostracized or feels like he doesn't fit in or anything. So,
and also the championship is tough because there's just so much moving doors in those leagues. There's clubs that go through like 5 managers in a season. Like, you're always on the under fire. So it's tough.
It's cutthroat. It's cutthroat. Seriously. And that's why, Charlie Cresswell did not play at all. He played 1 minute. He's not getting playing time. He's ready to go. It's like it's revolving doors. It's constant moving parts. It's cutthroat. It's a lot, and it's now requires you to have to change again, a whole new team, a whole new environment. Leeds is sitting fourth though.
Stay down in the championship, please. Don't come to the Prem. They have made some haters here in America.
They're sitting in fourth. And as Jose saying, ching ching. I mean, it's like, listen, the soccer world in general, I feel like is a tough situation compared to most, because you do have I know every sport probably has those issues, but you have even more issues around off the pitch types of things that go on, you know? So the drama, the environment, all of that, it's tough. But you can get paid there, that's for sure.
That's right. Yeah, he definitely can get paid there. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, a way you can kind of pay yourself here, ladies and gentlemen, is with one of our sponsors here in the Game Time app. Saving money can be easy with getting tickets to games, to concerts, all different types of events with our sponsor here in the Game Time app. Guys, download the Game Time app. It's a free app, and stressful ticket buying is no longer a thing. Head on down to the Flyers game tonight. Head on over to Xfinity, and right before the game, go get yourself those tickets with the best prices through the Game Time app. And we got you covered with the promo code here, ladies and gentlemen. With the promo code PHLY, with your first purchase of a ticket, you'll get $20 off. Ladies and gentlemen, that could be your beer right there. So head on over to the Game Time app, check it out, use the promo code PHLY on your first purchase, get those $20 off. And thank you to our sponsor here at the Game Time app.
And also want to give you guys some insight on Bagels & Co., where you can get Brooklyn-style bagels made right in Philly with Philly love, of course. It's that mom-and-pop shop feel, and it also just gives you options, variety. I have bagels almost every day for breakfast, and I could say when you eat a lot of bagels, you want to get the best bagels, though. And so over at Bagels & Co., they've got 15 to 20 different types of bagels for you. It's always fresh. Every day when you go in there, you get seasonal bagels. You get, as well as like a Christmas flavored bagel they had this past holiday season. Just all types of great bagels. And then on top of that, you've got about 30 different cream cheeses to choose from, which is wild to even wrap your head around, but you can wrap it around your bagel. So over at Bagels & Co., check out their different varieties of bagels, their large options for cream cheeses. They also just give you the ability to have a convenient, affordable brand, again, right in your backyard here in Philly, that you can get started for your breakfast, lunch, dinner. We're always talking about food here. Over at Bagels & Co., they make that a lot easier for you. So you don't have to worry about splurging. You can eat well, pay good money for it, and you can also be able to find any of their great locations on the website. So for the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly, head to thebagelsandco.com. Check out their store locations. Find the closest nearest you. Let them know that us here at PHLY Sports sent you, and enjoy sinking your teeth into some delicious bagels for breakfast, lunch, or dinner over at Bagels & Co. And with that, let's now welcome in our guest for today. Excited to have joining us from down in Tennessee, where apparently they got way more snow than we did.
Oh
Ben Wright of Broadway Sports Media, also a writer with the MLS. Nice to have you here, Ben. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me on. Yeah, we are currently kind of snowed in here. It's not that much snow, but I don't think Tennessee's ever prepared for snow. So 6 inches kind of just shuts everything down.
Honestly, I was surprised. I didn't think you guys got snow like that down there either, Ben. I was really surprised. I saw you actually posting stuff of, I guess, you and your family and just showing your neighborhood covered. So some fun snow days that are happening down there. I guess we can't complain about our 3 inches or so that we got up here in Philly.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere that we got our average annual snowfall in about 24 hours. And we have more coming down right now. So we'll see. I might be here for a few weeks.
Climate change and global warming, Ben. Climate change and global warming. All right. I'm sure you get all the soccer insight and all the latest on what's happening. And I think you are the right person, I'm sure you get that joke a lot, to join us to talk about, Mr. Wright, to talk about some possible names out there that are looking to come to the MLS. Now, I was surprised by some of these. I've been hearing different reports, Tom Bogart, different people that have been sharing names that have been reportedly linked to the MLS. I was excited to hear some, starting with like Olivier Giroud, 37 years old, but still Olivier Giroud. Divock Origi, different names. What are some names that have jumped out at you that have been linked to the MLS that you think are actually possibly going to happen, though?
I mean, I feel like Giroud has been linked forever. And he would make a lot of sense. I mean, he's 37, but he's still playing consistently for the French national team. He's still scoring goals for AC Milan. I think he's one of those. I mean, I think in general, players are going to start playing longer as kind of the science and sports medicine gets better. But I also think just the way he plays, kind of, he's not Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but it kind of reminds me of that type of player who can keep playing even as he gets older. He's adapted his game really well. I think he'd be a great fit. He'd be someone that Nashville fans have talked about for a long time. Obviously, they don't have a DP spot, and he'd require one. But I think he'd be super fun to see in MLS. I could definitely see a team taking a swing on him.
Hey, Ben, this is JP over here. I wanted to talk a little bit. Obviously, we've heard the reports of, all these players in the Saudi league that won out now. Jordan Henderson was one of those pieces that fell now, as he's now with Ajax. You think we can get any of these players over in MLS, and what team do you think that would be?
I mean, I think, yeah, it might take some restructuring of the roster rules. I think a lot of people were kind of looking at that when those reports of potentially adding a fourth DP spot were kind of circulating a few weeks ago. And then obviously at the Board of Governors meeting, that didn't happen. But I mean, hey, with 2026 coming up with the World Cup here, I think there is going to be a push for more of those kind of big name marketable stars. I think it's also kind of a testament to MLS, and maybe while some fans are frustrated with the more kind of risk averse approach that they've taken, it kind of pays off in times like this where you see the Saudi Arabian League take huge swings, spend a ton of money on these players, and then it kind of falls apart within a few months. And MLS has held off on that. They've been way more sustainable. And I think they're in a better position now. There were a lot of people talking about, okay, is Saudi a threat to MLS long term? And I think even a few months after that kind of was a conversation, you're kind of seeing that MLS is probably going to be around or more relevant for longer.
Yeah, it definitely, as you mentioned, feels like there's right now such a huge change between all the obviously international competitions coming up, World Cup, the Olympics. More eyes are on the MLS. There's more excitement around it. There are more names, more players. Of course, Messi helped with that tremendously as well. So as you talk about just some of the potential options for the future, are there any other players that you've really been seeing consistently linked to the MLS?
I mean, I think Neymar's the big one. Everybody talks about getting him to MLS. And you know what? I mean, it might happen eventually. I think, I forget who it was. Maybe Fab Romano put out a report that he's not going to be one of the players who is let out of his contract in Saudi Arabia early. But I mean, he's linked all the time to MLS, and I don't think he's obviously not going to have the same type of impact as Messi, but it would be close. I mean, he's a huge name. I think he's been kind of unfairly maligned throughout his career, but I would put him as one of the best players, definitely of this generation. And he still has huge kind of marketing pull. And he's a great player still. I would love to see him in MLS. Probably not this year, but within the next couple of years for sure.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Let's stay on that topic there, Ben. So, look, obviously, Nashville and Philadelphia, we're not New York or Miami, right? But some of us smaller markets still want these big name players. So, how does the MLS kind of divvy this up? How do we convince some of these players to look at a Nashville, look at a Philadelphia? How do we make it more even in the playing field here?
I mean, I think there is a reality where when people think of the U.S., they want to live in Miami, New York, L.A., Chicago. And so I think those four kind of have the name recognition off the bat that kind of gives them a leg up. But I mean, it was just a couple months ago that we saw credible reports saying that Kansas City was close to signing Ronaldo. Obviously, that didn't pan out. But I mean, I think there is still potential for teams to do that. They might have to get creative with kind of the incentives they offer, and maybe even giving up some kind of ownership assets and stuff like that. But I mean, I think America in general just has a lot of appeal for players to come over here. Definitely, I think still towards the end of their careers for the most part with these bigger name players, but it still has a ton of appeal. And I hope at least as kind of the spotlight is on the U.S. For the soccer world, I think we're going to see maybe more of these players playing at teams that you wouldn't necessarily expect.
Yeah, I know our producer Tyler. I'm gonna put you on blast. He's like money, 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 money. It definitely comes down to money too. But look, there's other things that are appealing. You can go down to Nashville, where you guys just already hit your annual record of snow. You can go to Philly, where we don't put down rock salt and our snow causes the roads and sidewalks to feel like ice skating rinks. We've got other cool things to worry about. But look, overall, so far this offseason, which is like a month and a half, it feels like. It flies by. What have been your thoughts? Because Nashville, much like the Union, have been quieter. Small signings here and there, little moves here and there that have been happening. Obviously, you guys have had a little bit more chatter. What have been your overall thoughts so far in terms of the MLS, though, as to how this offseason's been going?
I think Miami has the best roster ever put together in MLS history, at least on paper. Because everybody talks about the big four with Busquets and Alba and Messi and Suarez, but they're super deep outside of that. I mean, Campagna is going to be playing a backup role, and I would put him as one of the best 10 number 9s in the league. They're really deep at every position. I think they probably should be the favorites for pretty much every trophy this season. I don't think they'll win all 4 or 5, I guess, however you count it. But they should be the favorites. But yeah, I mean, Columbus is still really, really good. We saw what they did last year. I like how they operate, and they add kind of maybe under the radar pieces, but they know that their coaching staff, and especially Wilfred Nancy, can really develop players quickly. So I think they're still going to challenge. Cincinnati looks really good. And then I've been really impressed with Seattle and Colorado and some of the moves that they make. I think the East is still pretty far ahead of the West, but I think the West is going to be pretty wide open, and I think anybody could win it.
All right, well, let's stay with that. We actually asked this question on Tuesday here. The Eastern Conference, look, we talked about Miami, we talked about Columbus, we can even talk about Philly, but do you have a dark horse that no one is talking about that could potentially sneak up on the East this year?
I would go with New England. I know
Okay.
they kind of had last year. Obviously, they had tons of issues, especially with Bruce Arena and that whole controversy. But their roster is really, really good. I'm not necessarily sold on Caleb Porter as the best overall coach, but I think he's good at getting a team to a trophy quickly. It might not go well after that, but I think if you're looking for a win now team, Caleb Porter's not a bad option. And they're kind of in win now mode. I mean, their core is in their prime or getting just past their prime. I think Carlos Hill is still one of the best playmakers in the league, but he's getting close to 30. I think he actually may be over 30. So he's not going to be around for a ton longer. And so you kind of, if you're going to win something, you want to do it now. But I really like the core of their roster. I think they're as deep as it gets at center back. They have some really good pieces out wide, and if they can just find a semi-reliable number 9, maybe even turn Giacomo Veroni into a semi-reliable number 9, I think they'll be one of the better teams in the league.
Okay, so some interesting takes. I like, and I agree with your thoughts on Miami's roster. It's insane to even think about what they're going to look like. I know one of our viewers is asking about Miami having too many friendly games. I do think, to your point about Miami on paper being the front runner to win every possible piece of hardware, might be offset by the fact that there's just so many games, injuries, other things that could come into play there. But on the other side, as you talk about New England, definitely a consistent name that we've heard as a dark horse as well. And I tend to agree with you. Now, I want to shift over, as we were talking about some of the other soccer topics and news, because U.S. Soccer did just release the list of some awards that came out. Tuesday, we mentioned Christian Pulisic because he also is one that was quoted saying how he would like to, at some point in his career, end up in the MLS. And of course, everybody gets excited, us included, at the thought of Christian Pulisic in the MLS. Just voted the 2023 U.S. Soccer Male Player of the Year. With that, just, measly 4 times. It's, casual. And then also Kevin Paredes voted as the U.S. Soccer Young Male Player of the Year. What are your initial thoughts on these 2 awards that were given out to Kevin and Christian? And did you feel like there was someone else that maybe was more deserving? I felt like both, to me, were good fits. But I've been seeing various reports of some other thoughts as to who should have been named Young Player of the Year or just Male Player of the Year.
I don't know what the age cutoff for the Young Player of the Year is. So off the bat, take this with a grain of salt. I think Ricardo Pepi, if he still qualifies, he would be one that I think has probably a stronger case than Paredes. I mean, as far as Pulisic, though, I mean, the dude's been in ridiculous form since he went to AC Milan. I think he's kind of throwing back to the early 2 seasons at Chelsea when he was their consistent best player. I mean, he just won Serie A Player of the Month. He looks like he's finding the form that we've all kind of like been waiting for him to hit consistently. And I mean, he's 25 and already has 4 U.S. Male Soccer Player of the Year awards. I think he has a strong argument to be the most talented player the U.S. has ever produced. I know you can get into like the greatest player of all time discussion, and I still think overall probably Landon Donovan's career has the edge on him. But I mean, he's gonna break that here soon. He's 25. He hasn't even hit his prime, and I think we're kind of seeing levels from him that we haven't seen from any U.S. player before.
Ben, yeah. I wanted to ask you, because there's been a player linked to the MLS that really intrigues me here, and that's Jesse Lingard here. It's been a player that, listen, I don't know what to make of the past couple years, but obviously we've seen him at the height of his career, and it's pretty good, and that'd be really fun here in the MLS. And he's been linked to Portland, which is very interesting because we know Portland's been a golden standard over the past 10 years here in the MLS. So just kind of your thoughts. Like, you think Jesse would fit well in this league? Could we see old Linz back?
I mean, I would have thought that DC United would have gone for him when Rooney was the coach. And I guess since that's not an option now, Phil Neville makes a lot of sense with the Manchester United connection. I'm interested. He hasn't played consistently in a while. And he is such a streaky player. I mean, at his best, he was one of the better players for United years ago, and then kind of fell off a cliff. We've seen him kind of have these mini resurgences and then kind of disappear for a while. So he'd be a big swing for an MLS team to take. I don't know if it would pay off, but I'd be interested to see kind of what his deal looks like. If you can get him on a max TAM deal and maybe not have to spend DP money on him, I think it would be absolutely a risk worth taking. But I don't know if that's even possible. I think he'd probably be on a DP deal.
It's great points. I mean, a lot of it comes down to how you structure the deal, what the financial numbers look like, the contract in general. So that typically seems like it is the difference between being able to land some of these players in the MLS versus them going elsewhere. So, Ben, we appreciate you taking time to join us on the show and all the great soccer coverage that you do. It's fantastic to see how you're consistently always pumping out some great content and pieces. And so love to have you on again at some point, but we appreciate you for joining us here on PHOI Union Podcast.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
No problem. No problem. Ben. You guys be sure to give Ben a follow on social media. Ben Wright, he's at doing a lot of stuff out of Broadway Sports Media down in Tennessee, also a writer with the MLS. And you can give Ben a follow at Ben Wright on Twitter. Now, as Ben was talking about with us, and we were just kind of going through some names, it is wild when you think about Jesse Lingard, only 31, right. Has won the UEFA Europa League, the FA Cup, the FA Community Shield, the EFL Cup. Someone else, Albert Ellis, who I've heard of, linked to the MLS as well, who's at 27, has been having an interesting year with Bordeaux. As we talked about, Divock Origi, 28 years old, 37-year-old Olivier Giroud. I mean, these are France's all-time highest goal scorer in Olivier. Some great names. And, of course, as we talked about Tuesday, Christian Pulisic. So it's exciting if the MLS is able to bring in some of these names that have been linked to the league and figure out a way to structure a deal that will intrigue them enough to want to come play here. It only elevates the talent, elevates the opportunities, and even just the excitement around being able to bring in some other players outside of just the usual pipeline that we're seeing, that now you're getting a mixture of some team, homegrowns and France's all-time leading scorer. And I know we talked about Neymar. These are more household names in that sense that would make things even that much more exciting.
Albert Ellis one does intrigue me because Albert has been, it's been hard for him to find his grounding in Europe as he's now with Bordeaux. But when he was in MLS with Houston, he was a magnet to the goal, and he's got some great size. It would be an interesting one if the Union were ever to get in on that one. But
yeah, La Penterita. I had to think about the letters there. Couldn't think of it. But you mentioned it, 5 goals in 13 games.
Yeah. I would love to see, because he used to have, I don't remember, he had the Black Panther celebration. He would put the Black Panther mask, do the whole thing in the by the corner zone there. So that would be really fun. But like I mentioned with Ben, like my main concern here is, Renee, we're gonna get more intrigued by these players, right?
Yeah.
These players are gonna be intrigued by this league, especially now that the Saudi League looks like that's blowing up in Saudi's face right now. The same thing that happened with the China Super League. So if you are a European player that's looking outside of Europe, out of the main 4 leagues, what are the options? Well, the MLS is pretty solid because, listen, living in America when you got money is fun. It could be fun. And the thing is, too, like, we're still in, like, I would say maybe the teenage years or like getting into puberty as a league right now. So like, why not still be part of that history? Put your name in the early history books here in the MLS. So for a lot of these players, that's where I get worried about how do we disperse the talent. There are smaller markets out there. Philly, Nashville. I don't want to throw Chicago, but Chicago, but Charlotte. Some of these smaller markets. How do they get those big players too?
No, you're absolutely right. It's definitely interesting because it's great that you hear names like Neymar when you talk about the future of the MLS, Christian Pulisic. I don't imagine any of them would be within the next couple of years. That's down the line. But to your question that you would ask, Ben, is who's getting these players? Are all these players going to Miami and LAFC and New York, or we're going to start to actually see teams, and not even selfishly just the Union, but even whether it's Nashville or Kansas City, whoever, that's able to actually bring in these types of players to now disperse the talent. You don't want every top, Champions League, Premier League, European League player that comes to the MLS all going to the same spot.
Yeah.
That's no good either.
And to your point as well, like bringing these European players, Renee, like that's valuable experience that those guys are bringing to the people in the dressing room who maybe haven't played at that high level. So it's an investment there that pays off in the end because of what goes on the field and off the field. And to Trav Man's question, we haven't got an official word. So the U.S. Federation denied MLS's wishes of like not allowing the senior team players in the U.S. Open Cup, but we haven't had an official word from the MLS. But it does seem like MLS players will possibly be playing in the Open Cup this year. So keep planning for that one.
All right. Well, before we get into the starting of drafting and listing, I should say, our top Union players to wrap up the show. Again, as mentioned, congrats in order to Christian Pulisic, 4th year in a row being named the U.S. Soccer Male Player of the Year, which is insane, tying Landon Donovan with that number. Just outstanding how he's been performing. I know it's wild. He's still so young. He feels like he's been playing so long because we started following him at 17, and he's already accomplished so much in his time. And so for Kevin Paredes, excited to see what the future holds for him. Definitely been a big year with Wolfsburg so far. So looking forward to see what the future holds for that youngster.
Oh, yeah.
And then also, as we were talking about, JP, congrats in order for Jose Fiasco.
Yeah. So Jose Riasco gets called up. Listen, it's been a bumpy road here in Philadelphia, but he gets called up for the pre-Olympic roster, kind of like what Jack and Nate are doing right now for the U.S. Women's team. But gets called up by Venezuela, so he'll be with the team for their pre-Olympic stuff there. So that's definitely dope. And like I would assume that would boost his confidence here a little bit. He's been battling here with Union 2 for some minutes, but that's definitely dope to see him get called up here.
Yes. All right. Well, we've talked a lot about where players are going and moves and what the future will hold. It's time to look back a little bit. We're going to start here today because we got to start somewhere. We want to eventually put together our all-time best 11 for the Philadelphia Union. That's the end goal. Players that played either with the Union, the Academy team, Union 2, anybody that ever rocked a Union jersey at any level. And players that are still currently playing. We're not looking at, so I guess when I say best all time, that probably is incorrect. But maybe that's a good spot to start. Maybe we start with like all the lists and then we can ixnay the ones that are retired.
Okay.
And we can start to, pull back the weeds a little bit and dial it in, because I feel like in order to look at who's the best current, we do need to compare them to the best all time.
Okay.
Technically.
So we'll start with the best all time here.
All right. I'm going to write this down.
Okay. And guys, in the comment section, throw your nominees in there.
Great point. Please join us because honestly, we're just starting from scratch here. And this is not an easy thing to do. So let's start with the greatest Union players all time.
Okay.
An easy one that we can all take off the board is Sebastian Lertoux.
Yeah, guys, we all know he's going to be on that list.
Okay.
This is a good one. I would have to go. Well, obviously, you got to. I mean, if we're going all time, obviously, in goalkeeper Blake. But if you want to go back up, I'm going Fried Mondragon.
Okay, and you know what? Season. Yep, I was going to say throw them all out there because we can have a depth chart.
Wait, we can have depth, Renee? What? I did not know that.
Okay, so you said Andre, and you said who else?
Fried Mondragon.
Okay.
What do you mean? You're not putting Joe Bendick on there?
Oh man, how about Bendick in Vancouver, guys?
Oh,
Joe Bendick trying out with Vancouver. But yeah, Mondragon definitely on that list for goalkeeper.
Okay. Ray Gaddis.
Yeah,
There's a good one.
favorite,
I like. We're going Brendan.
I gotta go Brendan. Gotta go Allie.
Paxton? Can we talk greatest of all time?
That's tough. I probably wouldn't put him greatest of all time, but
he's going below the line.
So if he turns out a nice European career, then obviously
he could be by the end of his career. He's gonna go. I'm gonna start a below the line list because he's not there. Okay, then you have players. If we're talking greatest all time that ever wore a Union jersey, where do you put someone like a Freddie Adu? Because his career did not pan out fully like we all thought it would, but it still was a spectacular career.
Yeah, that was
it was like a shortened career.
Freddie, I mean, I probably wouldn't put Freddie on the list if I'm
being honest.
I wouldn't put Freddie on the list.
Okay.
Who should we talking about?
He's a cool guy.
He's definitely a cool guy.
Talking to him in person. Il
So what are you doing? Just putting people that we like? Like just
no, I'm not going by likes.
That's a nice guy. He's on the list.
So I'm trying to. There's a lot of names to think of. I'm trying to with other as we name names. I'm thinking of other names, and I'm just like This is a brainstorming sesh. A brainstorming session. Ilsinho's a great one to add to the list. Julian.
Ilsinho definitely to put in there.
Trapman, I can read. Julian saying Andre. Yep, we've got Andre Blake on the list.
How many years do you need to qualify? Like, are we putting a staple on that?
We need stipulations. Like, how many years did you, in terms of playing with the Union?
Yeah.
I think it doesn't matter.
Or are you just saying, like, these are the best players to ever put a Union jersey on?
Bingo. Best ever to put a Union jersey on.
Okay.
And it didn't have to be that their career was just great with the Union. It could be that they had a great career overall and they at some point were with the Union, which is why I was bringing up like someone like Freddie Adu.
I gotcha. Okay.
Like not just best with the Union, best ever that at some point were with the Union.
All right.
This is tough, actually.
This is tough.
I'm going to do some Googling because I need some support here.
I would definitely throw in there some midfielders here. So I'm going to nominate Vincent Nogueira, Christian Maidana.
Wait, I'm typing. Sorry. Who'd you say before Christian?
Vincent Nogueira.
Yeah. Okay.
Nogu.
Not the spelling.
EIR. It's a tough one.
It is. I'm gonna correct spelling later. I just want to at least get their first name down so I can make sure.
It's a Nogueira. I'm gonna throw Christian Maidana in there as well. Got to throw those guys in there.
Does CJ Sapong make the list?
You could throw him in there. I mean, dude, he had that goal score.
Oh, are we going Casper then?
Are we going what?
Shabilko?
Shabilko? We can go Shabilko.
This is a tough list.
So we're just throwing names in the list here. So
yeah. We're not like narrowing right now.
I mean, yeah, he had some goals here in Philly for sure.
Okay, then we're going with Mark too. Mark McKenzie.
Oh, for sure. I think he would be.
Oh, Corey Burke.
Oh, Burke. Yeah, I know people.
Super sub.
Burkey. Yeah, Blake. Yeah, for sure. Burke, Ilsinho.
Okay, I should do a numbered list because I don't want to have to manually count this.
I guess we should take some of our guys out now, right? Guys that are on the team now. Gazak.
Oh yeah. Maybe we should include some of the current players. We're only including. It's funny.
You're not saying the current players, right?
No, we are.
Okay.
But that's the irony is of all the current players, Andre is the only one that we thought of. When we're talking about greatest players ever to play in the Union, the irony is we have yet to think of like Kai, Julian,
those are the easy ones.
Daniel.
I mean, this is so definitively the best stretch of Union soccer ever. Like you could just say, all right, take the team that won the Supporter Shield. Boom, there's your starting 11.
Literally.
Very true.
You put VA, right? Brandon Aronson?
I did. Yeah,
you got to.
Because we have to make the end goal is a starting 11.
Yes. El Brujo, we got to put El Brujo in there.
Okay. So now we're up to 15. And the last, we only have 15 and 5 of them are current.
Defenders?
I mean, 15 and 4 are current. We just need more in general.
More in general?
Yeah. Because this is a pretty, we definitely need more defenders. So we go in Jack,
Jakob.
Yep, for sure.
I'm also going to throw Shannon Williams in there. He's one of the good ones.
That's a good one. That's a great addition.
Yeah.
I didn't officially put Kai on this list, but I'm gonna put him on the list.
Did you put El Brujo on there?
I did. Where does Ali fit in all this?
Definitely should be in there.
I think we're gonna put him in the list. He might not make the starting 11. He might be a reserve piece.
Jamir Montero.
Jamir Montero. There's a good addition. Yeah, because that's the other thing. Keep in mind players that are still in the MLS that used to play for the Union.
It's true.
Okay, let me look at some other names.
This one's tough, but because he played different positions in the back line, but Fabinho.
Oh my gosh, that's so weird because I was just looking at his name.
He did play like left back. He did play some center back.
Again, we're not doing positions yet because we don't know what formation. We don't know what formation we're in. Are we in a 4-3-3? Are we 4-4-2? Are we in 3-5-2? We never know. Let's go based off of our players, and then we'll figure out our lineup. The formation of our lineup with our personnel.
Do you want to throw Keegan Rosenberry in there?
Sure, I guess.
Just got to refresh myself. So many players now.
That's why I feel like I'm having recency bias again. I was having recency bias earlier. It is fair, though,
because this team recently has been much better than what it was.
Does Sergio make the team?
Correct.
Who?
Sergio Santos?
Sergio Santos. We should definitely throw him in there. Yeah. That's a good discussion. It's a good debate for sure.
Yeah, because at some point on the show, we will actually put together. Jack Elliott definitely is on the list. We've got Jack. Okay, here's our list. Maybe I should refresh the list. We've got Sebastian. We've got Andre Blake. We've got Freed. Never know how to say
Fried. Yeah, Fried.
Yeah.
Fried.
Ray Gaddis, Brendan Aronson, Ilsinho. We've got Christian Madonna. We've got Vincent Guerra. We've got CJ Sapong, Kasper Shabilko, Mark McKenzie, Corey Burke, Daniel Gazdag, Julian El Brujo, Jack Elliott, Jacob Glesnes, Kai Wagner, Ali, Yamiro Montero, Fabinho, Keegan Rosen, and Sergio Santos. So we're up to 23.
Okay.
We've got some honorable mentions in Paxton Aronson and Freddie Adu.
Okay.
They'd be on the Union 2 team, according to our list.
The best one, probably, I mean, I don't know now, but before 2020, the best free kick in Union history, Tranquilo Barnetta. What was that, 2016?
We're going on a set piece specialist?
He was a 10.
Oh, and Daniel Gazdag wins that.
But I'm pumped.
Did you put McKenzie on there?
There's actually a lot. Yes, there's actually a lot of names that I forgot.
Modu.
Okay. There's a lot of names that I forgot, like a Stuart Finley that have played with the team. This list is wild online. Maurice Adu. Oh, you literally just said him. That's embarrassing.
Are we going to throw Marco
Probably
Fabian?
Should actually type him on there. Who?
Marco Fabian. Controversial Union player.
I'm going to add him. All right, we've got to wrap up the show. McCarthy.
Johnny Mac.
Oh, that's my guy.
It's tough. U.S. Open Cup legend.
He would not get a no.
Where does I would put Chris Seitz over him. I'd put McMath over. No offense, I know everyone loves McCarthy, but I'm putting those guys over Johnny Mac.
Where does the early teams do they get a bump because the team was so bad? If you were good on the bad teams.
I mean, I did mention some. Seb obviously is on there. I mean, like I said, I would put Chris Seitz over McCarthy. Danny Califf, you want to put the original captain, the OG captain?
He was on the 2010, 2020 to 2012.
Yeah. You put Danny on there. He was good, but not per se with the Union because he was here on loan. But Michael Orozco Fiscal was pretty solid in his career.
Right.
If you want to go.
Jack McInerney.
That's
an early. That's an early name.
That was certainly.
Who did you just say? Sorry, I'm trying to do three.
Who did I just say?
Oh, now I don't feel so bad.
Thinking of Jack McInerney. Fafa, let's throw Fafa in there. I'm not.
This list is getting out of control. I still forgot who.
Oh, Michael Orozco Fiscal. That's the name.
All right, last names. Julian is saying Stu is the GOAT. Wow.
Stuart Finley.
So for that reason, we will add Stuart because if you believe Stuart is the GOAT,
I like that.
He's worth a conversation. He is. Yeah. Okay. This
was fun.
I still don't know who he said with Michael. Michael who?
Michael Orozco.
Okay. I'm going to make sure I have the right Michael. All right. Some other possible names before we wrap up. Now, based off of goals, we know who the top goal scorers are, but the ones that are not on the list, Mikel Ua, Connor Casey,
Roland
Alberg, Now that list is getting watered down.
Man, these names.
Chris Pontius. All right, I think we're pretty good.
That's a good.
I think that's a great list to start. We can always add more later. We don't have to have the definitive list now because again, the end goal is to take this list and put it into a nice starting 11. Brian Carroll.
Oh yeah,
did we say Brian Carroll?
I think Allie may have broken it, but he was captain for like 6 or 7 seasons.
Yeah, he was 2011 to 2017.
Yeah.
All right, Amobi Okugo. Okay, we're good.
We got good picks here.
Yeah, this is a great. Okay, actually, this is a great spot to stop because we are at 30 on our list.
Okay. Gotta make some cuts
here. Exactly 30 people.
It's like Hard Knocks.
Next week on the show, literally, it's cutthroat. Next week on the show, JP and Tyler, we're gonna take this up a notch. We're gonna take this list of 30. Sleep on it. If there's another name that pops up you want to add, go for it. And then we're gonna try to scale this back. Should we do? We're gonna try to do a starting 11 on the show.
The all-time starting 11. I'm in it.
Oh boy. Well, you guys, please help us finish the starting 11 next week. We'll aim for Tuesday.
Yeah.
Hopefully nothing should change. Maybe there'll be some breaking news that comes out between now and Tuesday that we have to talk about instead. Who knows? But we're going to put a top list. Jillian, you said you already did a list of top players from 2019 on your pod. You do a great job on your podcast, by the way. Yes, bring your insight. If you've already done top lists at some point or something, bring all the insight. Be ready to join us in the chat. Let's figure out a best all-time starting 11 for the Philadelphia Union. It's happening.
I like it.
All right. So for our guest, we had Ben Wright on today. Make sure to give him a follow and check out all the work he's doing as a writer with the MLS,
real
with
quick,
Broadway
Renee,
Sports Media.
I do hate to interrupt.
Oh, boy.
I do hate to interrupt here, but I just
What you got, Kanye?
I just real quick wanted to bring up news here that happened over the week here that I just wanted to put my thoughts and condolences out there. So we did lose someone in the Philadelphia Union podcast world. Gustavo Seminato, who was with the attacking third over at Edge of Philly. I got the news on Monday, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it did kind of put a damper on my day. I spent an hour on a podcast talking to him, and he was an amazing guy. And so getting that news on Monday was tough. So Renee, as you know, everyone here in the Union podcast world, we're all close, and we all like to look out for one another. So my thoughts and condolences to the family of Gus, and of course to the Attacking Third podcast. But we're here for you here at PHLY. So thoughts and prayers to Gus and his family and friends. Just had to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did, because that's definitely, it's bigger than sports, right? It's definitely bigger. So when we come back next week, we'll continue with our conversations around the soccer world. I also have to add, I accidentally forgot to add somebody. So we're actually at 31. 30 sounded so much sweeter, but we're at 31 names. And so next week, we'll continue breaking down all the signings that are happening around the MLS, news updates. We'll see if the Union have any other updates for us in terms of roster moves or anything else as preseason and training is rolling along. But for us here at PHLY Union Podcast, thanks so much as always for tuning in. We appreciate you guys always jumping in the chat, joining the conversation with us live or listening back on podcast platforms. Hopefully you have a great rest of your Thursday. Stay safe with any winter storms you're getting, snow, ice, whatever's happening out in your different parts of the world. We appreciate you as always. So for Tyler, JP, myself, Renee, and our guest, Ben, have a terrific rest of your Thursday. We'll see you next time, Tuesday, 3:30, live here on PHLY Union Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.